Aloha everybody, hi, I'm back finally for a spirit chat session. So excited that you can join me. I'm going to be answering some questions, so as you pop in, give me a hey, I'm here, so that I know that you're here and that you can hear me and that sort of thing. So I have some very cool things going on this week, and I have some good questions. So I'm going to scroll over here. I have my computer on the other side so that I can see. Let me just double check here real quick. All right. Sometimes I don't know if it shows up live or if it just goes public, or if it's not public, because Facebook does this fun thing for me where sometimes they go, oh yeah, you're live, just kidding. So I have some questions here. Let me get to the questions. Okay, Sylvia. Sylvia has a question for me. If you pre-picked a time to leave the body, can you change your mind when the time comes? Sylvia, I don't know if you're on here, but if you are, go ahead and elaborate on this. I'm assuming that what you're talking about is if you pre-pick a time to leave the body before you come down to earth. Can you change your mind when the time comes? Yes, and this is kind of a little bit more complicated of a question. That's why I want you to chime in to make sure if I'm understanding you correctly. When you come down to earth, you actually get 5 checkout points, roughly. I'm assuming some people could have 6 or 7 or whatever. But you roughly, as an average, you get 5 different checkout times where you could potentially not be here any longer. So yes, you do get a choice in some regard of when you want to check out, depending on how long that you choose to be here. Now, there are some people who actually come down and choose to be here only for a short period of time. So, like for instance, let me give you an example. Let's say that your checkout time is you're 80 years old. Up until 80, you're going to have a few different points where you can decide, am I going to stay here or am I not going to stay here? And then you will decide at that point in time. But let's say that you decide that your definite checkout time is around 25 years old. That's... If you've chosen it in your chart to specifically correlate with some lessons that you're specifically coming down here to learn, you're going at that time. That's why when there's some really freak accidents that happen, like for instance, I remember a long time ago where I was at a fireworks show, or no, I wasn't there. I was at a town where there was a fireworks show, and a piece of the mortar had come down and hit somebody. And I mean, it was so random that this had hit this particular person, wherever that they were, hit them, and the inevitable happened. They checked out, and that is when it's your time to go. So when it comes to situations like that, there is no changing why you're leaving at that time. You've made very specific instructions to do so. So Sylvia, I hope that kind of answered that question, because I'm just making assumptions as to when you mean your checkout time was. Julie Chang. Hi, Julie. If people reincarnate, now I thought that this was interesting. I really like this question. If people reincarnate, how are mediums able to communicate with your loved ones that have passed on that chose to reincarnate right away? Are mediums talking to their spirit guides because they know they need to hear in order to heal? I've been watching a lot of medium shows and I've been wondering this. Thanks. Okay, this is an awesome question. One is, when you think of immediately reincarnating, it's probably not anywhere close to immediately as you think. So for instance, you're not going up in you're not dying, going to the other side and turning around and coming back in 10 minutes, most likely not even a year. Usually the time frame is more like, well, it depends. If it is, I have seen people come down and reincarnate very quickly if it's a baby that has been miscarried, or a small child. If they tend to be a small child or a baby that has miscarried over, they can tend to reincarnate very quickly. But when you get into adult status, a lot of times you don't reincarnate quite as fast. That being said, one of the ways that you can connect into those energies is you're still energy, and you're still, even though that you're in a physical body, you're still energy, and you're still being able to tap into that person's energy and talk to them regardless. Like, people sleep, they do all the whole 9 yards. So yes, you can be talking to their spirit guides. You can still be talking to that person in energy form. It's very strange, but there's all these different dimensions. And so you absolutely, dimensions of energy. So absolutely, if a loved one has crossed over, let's say grandma crossed over, and then 5 years later she decided to incarnate again, can you still talk with grandma? Yes, because you can still connect into her, to her energetic form, even though that she is reincarnated. It's kind of complicated, but absolutely you can connect in with them, and you can connect in with their guides. But their energy is always connectable. Doesn't matter if they've incarnated or not incarnated. It's always connectable. You can always read them. You can always talk to them. So I can basically talk to somebody if I need to, who's incarnated. But I'm going to leave it with what I said. They don't tend to incarnate near as fast as you think that they do. Okay. So Kelly says, how can I talk to my 2-year-old and 4-year-old who are seeing spirits? My 4-year-old is getting scared, and I admit I'm a bit scared myself. I don't want to be scared, though. And I don't know if you're on here, Kelly, but I hope that you are. And if you're not, I'm just going to talk to you anyways. I don't think I see you there. But first of all, there's nothing to be scared of when it comes to spirits and that type of thing. And so the thing is the 4-year-old is probably a lot picking up on your being afraid. So as long as you just really embrace it and realize that if your 4-year-old and your 2-year-old are seeing spirits, and most of the time, more often than not, they are seeing loved ones and spirit guides or angels or something very feel good and positive on the other side, who's just trying to be a comfort and support and let them know that they're around. When you're 2 and 4, a lot of children are able to see other spirits, and they're not blocked yet, so they have the ability to be able to see physically and spiritually. And so you just basically say that, you know what, don't worry, they're here to protect you. They're here to do good things. You know, you might want to talk to them about, well, what do they look like? If you make it a game, if you make it fun and just be like, you know, they're here as your protector, and so do you know their name, and you know, what do they look like? And then if you go to the store, maybe let's say she says it's Madeline or something, well, maybe Madeline will be with us. Or how exciting is it that Madeline is around, and how special are you that you have this amazing person that's coming around and making sure that you're okay. If you change it and make them realize that it's usually a very special, exciting thing that they can see these people and how cool it is that they're being looked after, they're not afraid anymore. It's almost always the approach of the parents that make them afraid. And you should message me, Kelly, because I actually do some pro bono stuff. I do work with a lot of kids or parents that have kids like that, and so I might be able to help you work through that a little bit more. So just drop me a message. And so do you guys have any questions? I'm going to go through here. What is your opinion about walk-in spirits? Okay, there's a lot of different, oh, thanks, Julie. There's a lot of different terms of walk-in spirits. So, Jamie, can you be a little bit more specific? I want to make sure. Are you talking about walk-in spirits into, I've heard of people talk about walk-in spirits in houses, but they also talk about walk-in spirits and as far as people go. And so definitely elaborate on that a little bit more, because I do want to answer your question. Lori, thank goodness for this. That's funny, but you're very welcome. And if you have any questions, please post them below, because I will answer them for you. Carol says, hi, Jennifer. Hi, Carol. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. Cynthia says, I'm very appreciative of the time you give us. Oh, that's so sweet. I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. And I am super excited to answer your questions. So I also did a post, a couple of other things that I wanted to talk about. But again, if we're not on this subject and you have questions, post them below, because I'm more than happy to answer them. There was somebody who asked me a question about picking out rocks or crystals. Well, I have one on here. So I wanted to cover this a little bit. I may actually cover this a little bit more, elaborating in a blog post or radio show. If you're feeling drawn to crystals or rocks, you definitely don't think it always has to be a specific rock or crystal. I think that that's a mistake a lot of people make. If you're feeling energetically like you need some type of rock for protection or gem for protection, you want to follow a couple rules. One, throw out all the rules that you thought you knew already. Just get rid of them. Number two, go into a rock shop, go around the rock shop, go towards anything that feels you're drawn to. Doesn't matter the type, it doesn't matter if it's a granite, a crystal, whatever. Go towards what feels good and feels good to your eyes and feels good to hold and pick up. Move that direction. Then when you find the area that you like, you want to pick up the rocks and you want to start touching them and feeling them. Any rocks that will have a clean, nice feel to you, those are the ones that you're supposed to have into your life. So hopefully that's helpful, kind of elaborating on that a little bit more. I don't like it when people get too rigid on, well, I need to have this type and for sleep and whatever. And the next thing you want to do is you want to take them home, you want to wash them with water, run water over them. They're really good to have by your bed. So, Sylvia posted again, if you pre-pick the time to leave your body, can you change it? Can you change your mind when time comes? I think I did address that, but like I said, when you pre-pick a time, you usually there's several checkout points. If you've picked an early time, you're going at that time. There's no changing it. If you picked a later time, there are some variables that can happen. So it depends on what lessons that you're here to learn, on if you can change that. So Jamie, specifically, I had a student in his early 20s who was way, way wiser than his age on so many levels by walk-in. I mean, an enlightened spirit being who steps in and takes over the body to complete a task or do further here work on earth and has permission to do so from the body that they inhabit. Okay. This gets into a little bit more of a complicated question, so I'm going to answer this as best I can. First of all, what you're talking about is basically channeling. There's my thoughts on this is a couple of different things. Normally, as far as a walk-in goes, they do not inhabit your body for long periods of time as far as taking it over and so removing you. So for instance, when you're talking a walk-in, what would normally happen would be like if you have these two spirits and they tend to cohabitate inside the body. That's the only way that can happen for long periods of time, number one. Number two, if they're not going to cohabitate and one actually moves out of the body, that would be more of a channeling session, and those don't last for a very long period of time. I am a channel, so I know how to do that, but you definitely have to give permission both ways. You have to give permission if they just step in and they're in there for temporarily. If they're in there for a couple years, you can merge with that spirit and allow them to be with your body. It does happen. It can happen. Some people who don't even know it happens can happen, and I don't want to scare anybody because it's not. This is more of an advanced thing. So don't worry about it. Don't worry that someone's going to cohabitate your body, because they can never, ever, ever, ever come and merge with you unless you give permission, number one. You have to give permission in some way, shape, or form, or it cannot happen. So that's one thing. And secondly, I think that's more a longer question, because I guess I'm not sure what the question is. It does happen. There has to be permission. It can be good. It cannot be not so good. It depends on the mental shape of the person who's handling it. It also depends on how developed that they are as far as psychic knowledge and psychic protection and that sort of thing. So that may have to be a longer conversation as far as the walk-in conversation. Okay. I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but I'm wondering, Cynthia says, I'm wondering if people that have a horrific accident have a horrific accident happen to them, does their spirit leave the body so they don't have to experience the trauma? Yes, many times. And it's okay. That's not a bad question. We're all interested in all these questions, or I'm sure other people are interested in. So If people have a horrific accident that happened to them and they stay alive, they can still separate and leave the body for a period of time. If they then, most of the time, if there's a horrific accident where they're no longer with you anyways, they do separate and they leave the body way faster than you think that they do. So for instance, if there's a car accident or a car wreck or something like that, many times right before impact or right at impact, that body is, the spiritual body is projected out immediately. And there may be some stuff going on with the physical body, but many times that spiritual body is out because of the trauma. And if that does happen, I'm going to give you a little bit more information. If that does happen and that person passes, those people will actually go through an orientation when they're on the other side to help orient them to what just happened. So there's a lot of care that goes in with your spiritual self if you separate from the body. If you then go into a coma, you still stay separated from the body for a long period of time, or even as you're recovering, you may not be in the body entirely. You may kind of be like this, sort of not fully in the body. Again, yes, that's all a real thing. It helps you get through what people would call a traumatic experience and that sort of thing. So Helen says, I have a woman at work who will continually puts me down. I surround myself with mirrors. What else can I do? Helen, I don't know if you have gotten my Energy Vampires book, but for those of you who have not gotten my Energy Vampires book, it's on my Keys to the Spirit World. You can go to the www.keystothespiritworld.com and you can download it for free right now. And that has a bazillion tips in there for people such as yourself as far as protection goes. But a lot of times, energetically, you need to, it helps if you start realizing that what this person's about energetically. But there is a ton of physical tips in that Energy Vampire book. There's so many tips in there, Helen, that I don't even know if I can put them all on here. So you would want to do some visualizing. You would want to do some grounding work. You would want to do something called a bubble meditation. These are all in that book. You can even get rocks, but you can change a lot of that feeling that you're feeling energetically attacked. You can change a lot of that via visualizing and with the bubble meditation. And then also when you come home, you want to do some grounding and some different work, stuff that gets that energy stuff off of you from somebody who, because what happens is when you're around people during the daytime and you feel like they're kind of being mean or bullying you or just being rude, their energy kind of just gets all up in your energy field and it kind of sticks there. It sticks there like you would imagine dust sticks on shelves. It just sticks in your energy field. So you want to be able to release that. And there's a lot of tips in there with showers, incense, all kinds of tips in there. Definitely go check out the book because I think that, and it's free. Just go to the website. I'll try to post it later. Let's see. Manan, I'm sorry if I say that wrong. What if you feel stuck energetically or spiritually? I feel stalled in my growth and it's all I want. What can I do? I feel my guides have wandered away. Okay. When you get in a situation such as this, where you're feeling stuck energetically or spiritually, you have a lot of things going on. If you're feeling stalled in your growth and you feel like you're having no connection with your spirit guides, several things are happening. One, you've moved entirely away from paying attention to your intuition and yourself and your spiritual body. And when you're feeling stuck energetically and spiritually, you're no longer listening or paying attention to anything that your spiritual self wants. You've ignored it to the point of you're just doing this and you're thinking through life. Oh, well, I should do this. Oh, I should do that. Well, that's what so-and-so needs me to do. I have to do this because I have kids. I have to do this because I have a spouse. That is the number one thing that will get you stuck spiritually and energetically, number one. Number two, as far as not being able to hear your guides, you won't hear them during that time because you're completely left brain and you're in your head. And so in order to get out of that funk, you have to learn to reconnect with your spiritual body and what it is that you desire, what you need in life. What do you need to feel nurtured? Finding yourself again. I can give you a couple quick tips, but if if you're interested at all in taking that psychic ability class that I'm going to be doing, that I will be posting, we do a lot of this work feeling and getting in touch with your spiritual body and trying to figure this out and get the mind out of it. And that's a very good step. One of the things that I notice that people do or do not do is many people do what they love or remember who they are when they were younger. If you can even think back to when you were 16, 17, 18, or even 10, what did you love to do? What was your passion? What did you enjoy? Who were you at that point in time? You really need to grasp onto that and start remembering who that person was inside, because children tend to naturally follow their desires and who they are and what they want to do. They naturally just move towards the positive. They just flow there so effortlessly. And as you get older, you start going, oh, but I need to make money. Oh, but I need to make my parents happy. Oh, I need to do X, Y, Z at this job. And you start navigating towards things that no longer resonate with who you are and what you love and what makes you happy. And then the next thing that happens is people have kids, and then they have spouses, and then they have 80 million other excuses of why that they need to be doing X, Y, Z, when there's no reason other than you're forcing yourself to do it just for who knows what, your 80 million excuses. And so you have to get back in touch with yourself and be able to start feeling who you are inside, what your joys are. And simply, you have to start finding your happiness again. What is your passion? What makes you happy? You have to move towards that. It's non-negotiable. If you want to live a healthy, happy life, if you want to be in tune with your spiritual body or your spiritual self and feel uplifted from your very core of your soul, you have to stop ignoring what makes you happy because you have responsibilities, or because it'll tick somebody else off, or because you can't figure it out anymore because you're just too busy. You have to stop ignoring those things. That's the worst thing you can do. And you have to move towards anything that brings you joy. If you like going to these movies and this makes you laugh, you move in that direction. Anything that brings you joy, you start moving in that direction, because the more you move in that direction, what happens is you raise yourself energetically and vibrationally. The more you laugh, the more you move towards joy. Let's say you're on a scale of 1 to 10 as far as vibration goes, and you're down here. The more you move towards that, it'll raise your vibration, raise your vibration, raise your vibration. And then what happens is things will start coming into your life. You will start attracting things, or you will start viewing things differently, that will start making it becomes addictive. You start wanting to feel that joy again, and you start moving towards it over and over. So there's a lot of stuff that you probably need to work through that is going on, but I absolutely can help you with that spirit guide thing and raising your vibration stuff if you want to look into that class. But you have a lot of things that you need to kind of work towards. Sylvia says, that's good news, as my mom was killed by a drunk driver in a head-on crash when she was 41. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, there was no changing that. That was absolutely her time to go. That could not have been changed. So, in other words, and I have had people ask me that. So, let's just say, for instance, just for fun, and not for fun, but that she averted that particular drunk driver. Something else would have happened because she made a very specific exit time at that time. So I guess how it'd be easier to understand is if something happens with a freak accident, usually you definitely have written that into your chart. If something happens with more like old age or sickness type stuff, then you had some other choices that you could have changed along the way. Hopefully that clears that up a little bit more. Okay, Susie says, what would be a reason for a person to stay alive for a long time? For example, my father, after suffering 3 strokes, was bedridden for 6 years before he passed. What could he be holding on to? A lot of different things, but mainly the top ones are fear. They're actually afraid, depending on their religious background or depending on what they know. They may even be religious, but be very still afraid of the unknown, and somewhere inside themselves they're not sure. They're just scared, so they hold on. So that can be one. And the other one that the reason that people hold on a really long time is because of their loved ones. They're afraid of causing the loved ones hurt, or leaving without, feeling like that they're taken care of, or they're afraid of, not being for them and there for them in some way. So the top two reasons they hold on is for the loved ones, and for fear. So just make sure that you constantly, it was bedridden for 6 years. What could he be holding? If he's still alive, you want to constantly just assure him that everything's okay and that he's done a wonderful time, and just kind of let him relax into everybody's going to be fine. We're going to take care of each other. You're just doing so good. We love you so much. And then just talk to him about wonderful things, and then he'll work through that. If he's still around. Do you see what I'm saying there? So those are the top two reasons. Okay. Tracy, thank you. Thank you for putting the link on there. The book is on the right hand side of the page. I appreciate that. Yay. So I don't have to do that. Very good. Thank you. So Aaron says, yes, me too. Can relate to wondering if they are not as here as they had been. Though I've been crazy busy with kids starting school, trying to regroup and get back into the groove, and they're coming back. It's very mental, just like you described. Having to be present and look for it. Thank you. Shut off that funk and get back to nurturing myself. So, if I leave you guys with nothing else during this entire spirit chat, I do thousands of readings. I mean, the amount of readings I do or have done over my bazillions of years of doing this is just a lot. It's astronomical. And it's interesting to me, whether I'm doing a reading or whether I have friends or family, or I see friends or family of people who I know, it's mind-boggling and shocking to me how many people I see that force themselves to do things that they hate and just veer away from their own joy. Or like you hear that, and it's such a cliche, and it's so annoying when people go, find your joy, find your joy. That just makes you want to strangle them. But finding who you are and making yourself feel good is a priority. People don't make it a priority because they have responsibilities. The problem is those responsibilities, husband, kids, wife, whatever, they need you to be healthy and they need you to be happy. That affects their life. And the other thing is fear. It is mind-boggling how many people are afraid to change what's going on in their life because they're afraid to make a change because they don't know what might happen, but it might be worse. When I look at these people's lives psychically, when I can see them, I always wonder, because it's so bad where they're at, and I know that it's so much better if they just make a change. I'm telling you, it's so important to just really nurture yourself and just find joy, just happiness, and just stop making excuses, because life is so much easier. It's just so much easier when you start making that a priority. Everything changes for you. Money changes for you. Your love life changes for you. People who are in your life, as far as positive, it all changes for better. It just gets better and better. The more that you make it a priority, the better your life is. I'm rambling now at this point, but it just blows my mind that how many people make it a non-priority and think that that's the way life is supposed to be. That's not the way life is supposed to be. That is the way that people around you have done it for a very long time, and they just repeat the pattern. So it's interesting. I see spirits in the flesh, Lori says. How can I determine spirits from actual people? I don't know they are spirits until others can't see them or they disappear. They don't talk to me, but I would like to communicate, but I can't tell the difference until it's too late and they are gone. Lori, again, would love to see you in one of my classes. I have a spirit communication class coming up where we'll go through that a little bit more. There are ways to determine if they're spirits or actual people, behavior, dress, a feeling that you get when you're around them. There are a lot of different ways to determine it. That actually comes with training, and so that comes with knowledge. So you can do all of those things, but you do have to be trained more in the area to just start determining and to start being able to see the difference. And then as far as that goes, then the communication kind of stems from there, and you will be able to communicate with them if you choose to. So Lori, I'd love to see you in a class, because there is a way to determine, but there's a lot more knowledge than I can teach you right here. It's a whole class. And so you can learn to differentiate them, and you can learn to talk to them before that they disappear. So Sue says, do you meditate every day? If so, what kind do you do? I do meditate every day, but I do it a little bit differently than most people. If I need to, I'll do a clearing, which I don't think that you're my group. I do this angel clearing, which is actually in that psychic ability class as a download. But the other thing is I do a meditative visualization is what I do. I spend a lot of time, I combine it into a whole bunch of steps. I do it in the morning before I fall asleep, or at night before I fall asleep. So if I'm in bed before I fall asleep, I will do it then. And then right before I get out of bed, as I'm kind of waking up and I'm really groggy, I like to do it while I'm in that sleeping state for a couple different reasons. I'm already zenned out into a meditative state. My visualization is automatic at that point in time. It sets the tone to my day. So I like to meditate during that time. I do visualization, and then I pull energy in and do a chi meditation, and I do that every day. And it's just habit, because I noticed that years ago, and I notice this with people now, but years ago I noticed before I went to bed, I would stress about the next day. And then when I got up, I would stress about that day. Like, oh my God, what do I have to do? I need to remember to do this. And this is coming up, etc. And I thought, this is getting ridiculous, because I'm creating my day stressful over and over. And so what I started doing is I started doing meditation instead. So I changed from thinking about my day to creating my day and getting into something that I really wanted my day to look like. So before I go to bed, I started creating my day and imagining it the way I want it to look. And I'll start imagining anything I'm worried about. If you're worried about paying a bill, if you're worried about doing a class, if you're worried about whatever, I'll go, oh, okay, I'm going to feel good after the bill's paid and it's done. Or I'm going to really get a lot from this class, or I'm going to have a really great time and laugh, or I'm going to go to lunch. And then I'm going to imagine my end of my day feeling really just fantastic at the end of my day. And so I go through a whole visualization of how I want my next day to look. And I even do it in the morning. And then I do a chi meditation where I pull in a lot of chi energy, and I pull that through my body. Again, that meditation is on that psychic ability class. It's a download, but I do. Let's see. Robert Nicole says, what about children born with cancers? Children, or any children born with disabilities, first of all, are very, and we've talked about this before, their spiritual self, they're very high spiritually. No children are ever born with any disabilities without being advanced, very, very highly advanced on a spiritual level. So first of all, they're very highly advanced. Second of all, I guess I'm not sure what your question is. What about children? They're very highly advanced. Some of them have early checkout points, and others don't. So it depends on the particular child on if that they're going to have an early checkout point, because I think that that's what you're asking. But yeah, children with disabilities are amazing. You have to actually be at a certain level of spiritual advancement before you can even come down with a disability, just so that you guys know. So they're amazing, and they're smart, and they're just very, very advanced souls. Jane says, I rolled my car down 30 feet as I was going to roll. I thought this was about a way out of a bad situation. I was not hurt. I was angry. I was still alive, and I felt my soul had left. I didn't come back for a number of days, and it was awful. Why didn't I cross over? Because you were told not to. Sorry, it's just because I psychically know this. You were told not to. That's why you didn't cross over. It wasn't your time to go. You were actually sent back down. Oh, okay. So do they choose this in advance? Yes, they absolutely do. That is written into their chart. They've chosen it. They have chosen to come down and have a certain experience regarding to their illness or disability. 100%, that is written into their chart. It's a choice of theirs. It doesn't make it easier for any of us who love them and adore them and don't want to see them go through this life lesson. It certainly doesn't make it easier for us. But yes, they've chosen as far as disability wise, they have. We have lessons that we have to learn and go through, and it's hard to watch some people go through lessons, you know. Sylvia said she was almost dead from a, I don't know who she is. Oh, I think that's the mom. From a uterus bleed 4 months before that, but was kept alive, total blood transfusion. By the time she got to the hospital, she only had, the doctor said, 1% of blood in her body. So the accident, yes, so the accident was just a different way to pass. The first way would have been, it was a different way, but Sylvia, it was okay. I actually think that the quicker way was the accident. So it's 6 1/2 dozen the other, but it was, yeah, that's a very good example of it was going to happen during that time frame. But I think that it was okay, the way that happened. What is your opinion on aliens being here in human form? Do you feel they are, and do you feel they are here to help? Okay, this is going to be an interesting one. First of all, absolutely, they're here in human form. I've actually ran into one before. And it's very interesting because the way that I would read regular people, anytime I read anybody, it's like if you open up a book, I don't have a book here, but if you open up a book and there's all this information in there, I absolutely get a read on every single person I've ever run into in my entire life, except for this one person. When I ran into this person, it was entirely blank. It was weird. I was sort of shocked because it had never ever happened to me. It was just entirely blank. And so anybody who's here on Earth is here in a positive nature. Anybody who's here. And this gets into a little bit more stuff that if you guys aren't interested in aliens, you definitely want to skip through this part. But I've been shown a lot of things about dimensions, and we're actually under a blank. It's very similar to how, you know, how the United States or, you know, the world works as far as the U.S. is one area, China's another, Africa's another. As far as the alien energies go, or alien beings, we're under different districts. And Earth and this one is protected under a certain district. So we are under a protection anyways of a certain alien culture, and they do come in and they observe, and that is that does happen, and I believe in that. I've seen it with myself. It doesn't matter to me whether you believe in it or not believe in it. This is my experience, and that's what happened when I ran into one. And they do look very much like humans, and they can interact with you. They are here in a positive form, but that doesn't mean that somewhere in the universe there are not other ones that are not so positive, just like people. I'm assuming that there's not good ones and good ones. We're under the protection of a nice, of a good realm of people. So, Alexis, we just lost my dog Merlin. And my son said he thinks he saw him today run by. Any thoughts? We miss him like crazy, and he went so fast with cancer. We had 1 week to digest. He was going to die, and he went so terribly. Could he be with us in spirit? Absolutely, Alexis. Your son did see your dog, and you may see them at night. He may see them at night. Your son may actually feel Merlin on his bed or near his bed. So if that comes up later, and he feels like his bed moved or something jumped on his bed, he seems to have a particular a particular relationship with your son. And so yes, that is 100% your dog, and he is with you in spirit, and he's good. Let's see. Yes, it was in regards to an early checkout point. Do they choose this in advance? Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting a lot of questions, so I have to go back and see. So yeah, they choose that in advance as well. Don or Tracy Don, are children born with disabilities put here to help someone else with a lesson, or is it specifically for them? It's both. With them being very advanced spiritually, it seems like it's part of a plan for their parents, relatives, and friends. Absolutely, it affects a lot of people. So it's a very choreographed dance when you come down with a disability or not with a disability on the lessons that you interact with, because you choose your parents. And so the children born with disabilities absolutely choose their parents for different lessons that they go through. for sure. Jessica says, I personally believe when people are on life support or in comas, they are no longer in their bodies, but rather their soul is above and it's attached to a thread in their physical body. Holy mackerel, this is a long one. I feel this is why many people say their loved ones passed on. As soon as they left the room, they want to be there to witness. Certain people, life support prevents them from cutting the thread. For those on life support, I guess I don't know if there's a question there, Jessica. But no, when people are in comas, they are not in their body. And in fact, for those of you wondering about Alzheimer's, many times they're also not in their body, which is why they see people from the other side constantly, or they're kind of seeing like other energies that you're like, what are you seeing? People with Alzheimer's are half in, half out of their body. They're not in their body anymore all the time. They're very in, very out. And for people who are in comas, they're never in their body. They're always above their body or around the room. And so those people, they're definitely not in their body. So anybody who's actually, and they don't necessarily have to be in a coma, because if you've taken my class, a lot of you guys know that most of the time when you're sleeping, 70% of the time you're not in your body anyways. So it's not just if you're in a coma, you leave it a lot when you're sleeping. Or healing. When you're healing, that's a huge time that you leave your body and you're wandering around. Helen says, I'm not sure if you answered my question. My internet went off. If you could please repeat it. And sorry, Helen, I don't know what your question was. It's really far back there. But you can rewatch this feed later, Helen. So you can go ahead and replay it. Susie, just curious, was that alien in human form aware that he or she, absolutely, they were totally 100% aware that they were, and it was funny because you could tell that they were very much observing what was going on. My son, who's a medium, was actually with me. I was actually doing a spiritual show at this time, and we were sitting together, and he had come up to us and was talking to us, and he had this really cool rock necklace that he had from Peru, or that's where he said it was from. It was a strange rock I'd never ever seen before. It looked very foreign, and it was hanging from his neck, and I commented on it, and when he left, my son and me just both looked at each other. My son looked wide-eyed, and he was like, wow, what was that? That was weird. That was like an alien, and we both knew immediately. It was absolutely immediate that we knew he was not a human. Aaron says, my mother is literally seeing orbs of many angels constantly. They're hovering around her, entering her heart at times. She's seeing more than I can visually pick up on. It is constant. She's also waking up at night, seeing orbs transform. In the day, they're surrounded by her bright yellow miniature angels. My stepfather is very ill. She's its caregiver. Let's see. I'm trying to get to the question here. She also suddenly turned at orbs, same numbers, sequence just suggested she sign up on your wait list. Very good. That's actually Erin. Sorry, it took me a while to get through that. Yeah, definitely. I think that she would love the class. She's spiritually aligning and developing very quickly. She would probably get a lot of answers that way. So, why would the universe, Daniela, I hope I pronounced that right. Why would the universe give me what I put out of what I want and need in my life and then take it away? He's alive, but told me he can't do it, but every fiber of my person is telling me he is. I feel as it is a lesson in patience, but I'm having a hard time understanding. I'm not really understanding the question. I'm assuming you're talking about a relationship with someone who can't be with you. And that's kind of more like a reading, so I don't really want to get into that. Thank you very much. Totally agree on aliens. Angelique, oh man, I have a lot of questions here. We're going to be ending this pretty soon. So, what about adults who have been diagnosed with disabilities such as mental illness, like children? Are they spiritually advanced, or are they dealing with an unbalanced karma or negative soul contract? That's a good question, actually, Angelique. When it comes to adults who have not been diagnosed with a mental illness until later in life, there can be several different things going on. So it depends on the adult. But it can be some other things going on other than... usually if they have a very advanced soul and they've written it into their contract, it's something that you notice very early on in life. When they have some mental illness going on later in life, there's a lot of other stuff that usually adds in where they're having some negative energy stuff happening with herself that has sort of come out and created different things. And there can be a whole lot of other stuff that I really don't want to get into right now because it kind of gets in some advanced spiritual stuff, spirit contact stuff. So usually, again, disabilities later on in life that never. It left me for a half a minute. Any messages from my brother who passed? That's a reading, Sky. I can't do that right here. So, Anne says, "Hi Jennifer, do you believe that some of us empaths can endure more pain than other people in this lifetime? I seem to have pain in different parts of my body at various times each week. I also have been feeling extremely lethargic. Any thoughts?" As far as pain endurance, that depends on the person. As far as empath and different things going on in your body, that definitely can be related. And feeling extremely lethargic is definitely related to empathic stuff. I don't know if you got my book, and because you've been around, I know you've been around for a while with me. Go check out the Energy Vampires book. But if you're feeling extremely lethargic, you have to go through the whole 9 yards with the double checking who you're around, the places that you're going, making sure you're doing the grounding, all the whole 9 yards. You got a lot of stuff to do if you're feeling lethargic. But you should be doing all of those things if you're an empath anyways, because it's a way of life. It's not just something that you're doing right now. I believe in aliens, and my family's experience just got on. I don't know the subject of the spirit chat, where it's basically anything. Anything that you want to ask me about. And Kelly, what is a good way to talk to children about ghosts? Kelly, I talked to you earlier on the thing, and I don't know that if you were on here, but you want to go ahead and message me probably on Facebook, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that. But because as far as the ghosts, I don't believe that they're ghosts in your house. I'm pretty sure that they're just spirits. And so basically, I think that we need to talk a little bit more about that. But most of the time, you guys, if your children are seeing spirits, they're spirits, they're not ghosts. If there's spirit activity, the amount of time that it would be a ghost, a person stuck in form, is going to be a very small amount, 10%. It doesn't happen very often, and usually they're related to a house or a home or a place or a business or something, and they've been there for a very long period of time. So it's not usually ghosts. But Kelly, definitely I'll chat with you more about talking to your kids for sure. Sue says, and I'm just about done, you guys, because it's getting late here. During a meditation recently, I was sitting and talking to my mother that passed away 7 years ago. It was wonderful. I really liked talking to her. Or was it my imagination? No, Sue, that is not your imagination. In fact, we just went over that in the module in one of my classes. We call that, even in my home, we call that a visit. It is not your imagination. And it's very cool and exciting. And so that's really nice that you can visit with her. And that even happens during what people think are dream states. They're not dreams, they're actual visits. And so, awesome. That's so cool. I can't believe I finally caught you live. Yeah, right, Sky? It's been a while. I'm guessing my question is more of a reading. Sorry, I think of a different question. I was so excited, I just blurted it out. Robert Nicole says, I cannot thank you enough for always helping everyone. May God bless you and all that you do. Oh, you're so sweet. You guys are so amazing and so sweet. I just love talking to you guys. And I know you appreciate these chats, which is why I do them, because you guys, I really want to help you with it as much as I can. And next time I do want to talk a little bit about those exercises that we've been doing, those psychic exercises, because I'd like to get into that a little bit more. And I really want you guys to learn how all of this can be a positive, very amazingly fun experience, just as long as you just can get rid of the fear, learn to work with it, and just have the knowledge to just really embrace and enjoy the spiritual part of life and yourself and what it is, and learn how to develop it. It really will enhance your life there. And I don't want you guys to be afraid, and I love to answer questions. So make sure that if you have questions, put them on the page. We'll do the spirit chat again next week. I want to talk to you guys more about some of the reading sessions that we did with the pictures that I had on there. but it's time for me to get off now. So until next time, love you guys, and we'll see you again on another Spirit Chat. All right, aloha.